Hello, and welcome to Midday Repartee. This is Rut and Glory, joined today by my co-host, Captain Buckhead. How are you doing?
I was hoping you were going to bring me in rather than just of all of us be here, because I was going to come in singing.
Oh,
You ruined it now.
damn! You gotta let me know these things. You know how I operate.
Unlike most people in the UK, I can recite my national anthem word for word, verse for verse, chorus for chorus.
Nice, dude. Nice. And also a special guest today, Passion4Drawing. This the show topic was actually something he had brought up. I think it was soon after the 24-hour comic event, and he wanted to talk about artist rights. And here we are, man. How are you doing, Passion?
I'm doing good. Having a good day.
Nice.
Ready to talk about some rights.
Rights. We have none. Oh, I mean, we have lots. Or,
Well,
I don't know. I don't know which is correct.
Yeah, I wrote down some things and some points and stuff. So
Nice.
it's kind of just wanted to let everybody know, like, oh, don't necessarily. I'm just some jerk off on the internet, but let me just tell you that I do have some experience. I have a degree in graphic design, Rod, and I was in the graphic design industry for over 10 years, and then I've been an independent artist for 5. So, and in between there, I did other stuff. But I do have experience and personal experiences from long time trying to get in the comic book industry. Read a lot of stuff about artists. A lot of things have happened to me where I got fucked over.
Sure.
So a lot of this is from my experience, my reading.
Yep.
And
I mean, I think we're going to be talking specifically about artist rights, but I think probably for the most part it applies to, whether you're a writer, artist, any creative person wanting to get involved with others to collaborate on a potentially money-making project. I think these will be things that you want to think about and consider, right?
Yeah, and that's what I want to start out with too. Is a lot of it doesn't necessarily apply to just artists. This can be writers, concept artists. Like a video game industry has a lot of this. What's going on right now? Because I think that's the new front of exploitation is the video game industry. Comic books have had a long sordid history of exploitation of artists and writers. So all this, what I'm going to say, is probably can be applied to writers and other creative people as well. Nice. But I'm not necessarily. I don't have a lot of experience in writing and everything, so I can't speak always to that. I can only speak to me being an artist myself. Because I've done a lot more research to protect myself.
Yeah.
Fuck everybody else. But so the one thing I wanted to talk about was the history of the exploitation. So artists are probably the most exploited group when it comes to the creative process for an IP or anything else. You hear story after story of, artists who create things and they're taken from them. Most of us, I'll keep it to comics. The big one's Jack Kirby. He's a notoriously nice guy. There's a great Evan. Sorry about that. Evan wrote a great book about Jack Kirby. Mm-hmm. I think everybody should read it. It is a warning shot to any artists who. Now Jack Kirby was a special case. I mean, he was smart, but he was a notoriously nice man, and he also wanted to feed his family. And he would do handshake deals, and they would have him do stuff and agree. And back then, contracts were pretty loose. A lot of them were verbal and things like that. And we have that a lot here in ComicsGate, and that worries me. We all know that he fought for years to even get his artwork back, and that's the problem. Everybody should really read these books and things about Jack Kirby. He did do interviews later on in his life, and I think you guys should all search them out on YouTube and listen to them. They're quite sad, actually.
What is this specific book you're referring to? Who wrote it? And what was it called?
It's by Mark Evener, who was he's famous, writer and editor at Marvel. He wrote a book it's called Kirby.
Okay.
Okay. And it goes through all his art and his whole thing. He was a personal friend of Jack Kirby's. So he knew him pretty well. And there was a lot of stuff, even though he was friends with him, he brings out some really important things about how he was exploited, and some of it was his fault. So I'm not saying I'm going to be dropping some really harsh realities here to a lot of artists.
Oh, please do. Yeah.
So he wanted to work. He wanted to support his family because he was raised in that blue collar idea that that's what you did. You put your head down and you did the work. He was also a massively amazing creative person. And that was exploited throughout his entire career. And the people above him knew this. They knew they had someone who was really talented who could just crank out ideas left and right. And he didn't get going until he was in his 40s. So if you're a little bit older, you could still, just because you're young and hungry now, doesn't mean you can't be taken advantage of later. So his is a really sad. I really want everybody to read that book and take a look at it. There's also tons of case law and everything, and a lot of the case law, unfortunately, has to do with Kirby and Superman. And a lot of those cases did not go artists' way. Those legal cases ended up going in the way of the corporations and the people who run it now, and or they settled out, before case law could be done. Kirby's last, he was trying to go after Marvel Comics to get all the copyright released because it was past the time, and before it went to the Supreme Court, they settled out of court over it because they knew it would affect a lot of other creative industries if things had changed. It had to do with worker rights, and was he an employee, was he not? And if it had gone in Kirby's favor, it would have decimated the creative, Hollywood, everybody. So they stopped it before it could happen. The family took a payoff, ended it. So
it's understandable, but it's too bad. I'm sure it was. Yeah. I'm sure it was a nice payoff, but every once in a while, there's these people that come along that they don't take the payoff in it. They change things for the better for everyone. But I understand, you got to take care of your family. Hey, Dave.
And a recent fight, probably in the last 5-6 years, was Tony Moore with Kirkman and The Walking Dead. He was the original artist on the book, first 6-7 issues. He helped come up with it. He had worked with Kirkman before on Battle Pope. They had created that together, and there's no dispute on Battle Pope who owns what. But when it came time for, the checks started rolling in from the TV show, Kirkman suddenly decided, no, maybe you don't own most of it.
Maybe
and so,
not.
Kirkman had made a lot of verbal promises to this guy, supposedly. This is what Tony Moore says. But they had known each other since high school. These guys were friends for decades. So the point here, and they ended up settling out of court because Kirkman didn't, whatever that settlement was, I don't know. But the point being is, if you're a writer, your artist can come back on you. Or if you're an artist, the writer could promise you a bunch of shit and things blow up and everybody starts disagreeing. And it wasn't looking good for Kirkman, too, in that case, from what I understand, because they had handshake deals and promises and all this other stuff. Right. So to learn from these things, what I'm trying to say is, if you're an artist or writer, artists get everything in writing, but mostly not everything. But if you're doing a project from the ground up and there's going to be a brand new IP, I totally suggest you do some type of agreement to either protect yourself or, even the person coming to you. I've done this several times to people in CG. I've done work for, not commissions. Commissions are a different thing. Draw me Cyberfrog. That's different. That is to tell them, hey, wait a minute. Do you really want me to draw these things and create this brand new stuff for you? And you don't have any kind of legal agreement with me? Because if it blows up and you make a bunch of money off of it, I can come to you and sue you for it.
Correct. Right.
I've told people that.
Yeah, it goes both ways. And just having really sound agreements with people that you're working with it's so beneficial to everyone involved. Just from a mental place. Like it just puts everyone at ease when everybody knows where they stand and what the score is. It's such a better way to work.
Yeah, and I could tell you from personal experience, just in CG, it has turned people off. Now, if you go, hey, I want a contract, I want everything spelled out, how I get paid, here's my page rate, what do you expect from me, what I expect from you, and I want my payments. There's been examples in CG too where people made handshake deals. We all know about them, and some of you guys don't know about, where people did a bunch of work and they didn't get paid for it because they didn't have a contract. The artist didn't stand up and say, I want a contract. They just did it on faith. And then things go sideways and they don't get paid for all the work they did. And I find that I'm mad at the people who didn't pay them, but I'm mad at those artists too for not standing. Oh, I'm not mad, but I'm disappointed in them for not standing up for their own rights. More artists need to stand up for their own rights. There's a lot of writers and people outside CG coming in here right now who want to get all the high-end artists. I mean, I get a DM once or twice a month. People want me to do projects with them, and I tell them
you get one a day from me, right? I mean,
one day, but I keep telling you no, Rod, and you won't listen to me.
I just won't listen, man.
Yeah,
I know. And then is there kind of a standard issue agreement that we could give people access to? Or is it just
I have a personal release I do.
Mm-hmm.
I send that, like, I had artists do stuff for my campaign, and I had them all sign releases. Like, they don't own the artwork, they don't own the copyright, but they own the original art and they can do whatever they want. That's usually, not all people do that, but some people do that. But I let them keep the artwork. They can sell it, they can wipe their ass with it. I don't care what they do with it.
Yeah,
but the intellectual property is mine, and the what I do with it is mine, and that's a basic artist release. If I'm doing something for somebody and they say, "Well, can you do this?" I've done this a couple times where I've done some design work. I make them sign the contract, even though they didn't come to me for it, and I go, "Well, wait a minute, I don't want nothing to do with your IP battle." And later, I'm okay with doing work for hire. If your stuff blows up and becomes famous, I hope you remember me, but I already made that decision now. But if you don't have any contracts and things blow up and get famous and money's flying around, everybody loses their fucking mind when millions of dollars start flying around.
Right. And no doubt.
Protect yourself. That's number one thing. If you're the artist, the writer, whoever, protect yourself first, because no one else has your interest in mind except yourself.
That's right. And it's going to protect friendships and relationships as well. I mean,
correct.
It removes the stress factor from so many things when it's just a written formal agreement. Everybody knows where they stand. It just removes all of that from the equation, and then you can go on with your friendships and relationships, and everybody knows what the score is. So yeah,
that's absolutely correct. And like, even, there's been artists and stuff and things went sideways. There's been some projects here in CG that went sideways because people got mad at each other and they didn't have everything locked up in contracts.
Right.
And that hurts the customer in the long run, and it makes you look bad and unprofessional for not doing it. And I personally don't really do any projects. I'll help people to a certain point, but I don't do any projects without a contract or any type of things, really. I mean, there has to be assurances, if that, but things get sorted out. I try not to. There's been a couple I've kind of looked the other way, but I'll admit I don't always follow my advice all the time, because you know what? You need money. The money looks good. I understand it. I get it. But you have to be realistic on what. If you're the rights holder, you have to protect yourself. And if you're an artist, let me tell you, I know at least 10 stories here in CG alone, let alone outside the comic CG. The creative industry, and you probably know this, Rod, you work in it, it's just littered with stories of, artists and stuff. And you look at the video game industry, they're all being exploited for their creativity. It's literally a sweatshop of ideas. You know, a lot of these companies, you have to spit out 4, 5, 6 pieces of concept art a day,
Right.
and you own none of it.
Oh yeah, it's absolute blood sport out there, man. I mean, yeah, if you're just taking a paycheck from a major company and cranking out concepts, you're giving away the best of yourself for almost nothing.
Right. So that's what I wanted to talk about on the history of it. My personal experience with this kind of thing was, of course, contracts and stuff, but even contracts can go sideways. I've had a few people. I had a video game thing that I was doing, and there was contracts involved, and they just took the art and ran. Then there was an RPG thing I did. I did about $4,000 or $5,000 worth of work, and he took all the money. The Kickstarter too. He took all the money and ran.
Oh man.
You know, the customers didn't get anything, and then he tried to blame the artists for it.
Wow.
Which really upset a lot of us because he didn't think we were talking to each other. You know, that kind of stuff that happens.
It is. It's weird to me that it does happen because it's so short-sighted. Like, where if it's something that they were hoping to keep doing, I mean, okay, you'll get away with it once, but how are you going to do it again?
Yeah. Well, they'll come back in 5 years or so and lie again, but they know that artists aren't going to sue over, you know, a few $1,000s here and there. It's just not worth the time and the energy to do it. You know, in that particular case, I was willing to take him to court. So,
Yeah.
But that happens all the time. There's people who exploit others because they get away with it, and they know it's not worth the artist's time to do that. There's also a lot of thievery online.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
You know, people stealing people's art. That's a whole nother different subject, but that's copyright stuff. But we're talking about exploitation of artists. And, you know, writers need, I mean, this is straight. Writers need artists. Artists don't need writers. I've said this before. Remember, all artists, I'm speaking for myself and most artists, they need you. Because they can't visualize their stuff. Not many writers can. You can visualize their stuff. Okay.
Right.
And you hold the cards. If they come to you and they want you to draw their thing, you dictate the terms. Okay. Now you can negotiate all these things and contracts, all that stuff. But just remember, you have it. Now, I'm not saying all artists are dickbags too. They've been in contracts. They didn't fulfill them. They didn't do the work they were promised.
Yeah. I mean,
Or
the one.
they run off with the money. I'm not saying
Yeah.
perfect either.
Yeah. The one in CG that comes to mind is, and I don't know all the details, but the Lady Alchemy one, right? Where
That's again, that boils down to she did not have a contract.
No, exactly right. It's all the things that you've been talking about. They didn't have the agreement set in stone up front, and she kind of just assumed
paid them all the money up front.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, so clearly not up to the task. I mean, the art was so bad.
But if you're not, like, contracts aren't a thing, or like say you're just doing a quick commission, my advice is someone who's hiring an artist to do it, pay them 50%, pay them a deposit first, and then say, hey, I want to see how this is looking before you finish it. Have them send you a sketch or layout or whatever. And then when they give you the finished file or piece, then you pay them the rest of the money. Because if you just give them all the money up front, they have no incentive. Artists are fucking lazy.
It's tough, man. Well, it's mentally tough. I mean, I think and we see it with crowdfunding quite a bit. You know, I do think that it plays a factor with people like EVS even, where it's like, you have this huge campaign, it's hugely successful, and all that money, it's already been generated, right? It's sitting there. But then you haven't done the work yet, and it's a mental, but I already got the money. So it's hard on the art. It's better for the artist, I would think, to not get all the money up front. It's almost, mentally speaking, like it seems like it's almost kind of cruel if they get it all up front.
Yeah, and like in my case, I'm not on EVS's angle, but when my campaign ended, back in December last year, I was at $4,800. That was literally me to print the book and ship it.
Right.
Okay, for that amount. I was hoping to get more, and luckily I did. I did better as I went along. But it was 1 year of slogging through the book, and let me tell you, not making any money for a year. I have to do other projects that takes time away from it because I do need to eat. I do need to pay bills, and I have to do other projects because I didn't make enough money ahead of time on this project, and it makes you disincentivized to work on it. I'm not saying I did that. But
no, but it can't. Right.
I can see where you're like, hey,
right.
I'm not making any money on this. Why do it? And then some people cut their losses and say, fuck it. You know, like we've had people in CG, they just blow all the money and walk away.
Right.
My campaign's not big enough where I could just blow the money. You know,
that would be a short weekend in Vegas. Let's put it that way.
It wouldn't be anything. So I just been trapped in this room for a year, drawing Doom Fate, and I'm ready to be done with it. And luckily, I'm working on other things. But Doom Fate's finishing up. It's going to be in the printer in the next couple of weeks. So I'm awesome, happy that I'm getting it done.
Yeah.
But I can see where people get disincentivized to do things. It's a mental slog. It is. I do this full time. This is my full time job. Some people, they have a regular job and then they do the art on the side. And I can understand where you're just like, fuck it, I'm not getting paid anything for that. I hear a lot of artists complain too. This ain't worth the fucking money dealing with these fucking people. Or this artwork is fucking boring. I don't want to draw it. I hear it all the time. So sometimes just getting a paycheck is not enough.
Yeah.
And,
Christine brings up an interesting point. What's going to stop people breaking contracts? If you've already said that most artists won't sue, and I think you're referring to when there isn't a written agreement. Most artists aren't going to go because that's a tough fight. But if it's written in stone, if there's a contract in place, it makes that process a lot simpler.
Well, let me differentiate my two arguments here. One is work for hire contracts. Okay, that's different. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about. I was also talking about IP contracts as well. Those are two separate things. Okay.
Right.
The work for. I'm sorry if I mixed those up. There's a work for hire type situation. Say I go to Rot and I want you to write me 10 pages for a thing. I hire you to do it. It's at whatever your page rate is. I need it by such and such date, blah, blah, blah. And then I send him a contract for them. I also send him and in that contract or a separate contract, it has something to do like you don't own any of the fucking IP. Like if he's writing about my characters, I put in there, you don't own any of the IP, dude. You own nothing. And that's in the contract too. So those are two separate things because you can do work for free, all right, and not have a contract. But yeah, you better have an IP thing done because these guys can still come in and say they own it. I created it. And they're putting stuff on social media. They can show a chain of custody. And if they really want to sue, and I'm not saying everybody's idea is going to explode into Walking Dead. I'm just saying cover yourself just in case. And if you're an IP creator or holder, you should be protecting your IP. And at one simple piece of paper, if an artist skedaddles when you show him that, you probably shouldn't work with them then. Same thing with the other way.
Shane, this sounds interesting. He says he uses a site that holds the funds, and once work is completed, I just hit the send funds button. It also allows for bonus options. So that way, I guess the artist can, everybody can see the funds are sitting there. It's in holding, and there might be some bonus potential visible there too. So that seems kind of cool.
Yeah, that's a great site. I mean, that's really important too. Payment too, going back and forth. I've had some problems with people getting paid too. Mm-hmm. But I just want to be out there and tell all the artists and writers, because I see too much loosey-goosey stuff here in CG, and we're all building something. And I'm building something too. Doom Fate's going to be a whole world and everything. And I protect it as much legally as I can. Now, I'm not saying no one's going to sue me in the future if it gets big or there's money or anything, because anybody can sue anybody for anything. But, at least I have paperwork to back my position up.
Yeah.
And I can
I have to confess, I was Inkspots and I have been talking and kind of loosely working on a project together and doing, but we didn't. We talked about doing the contract thing. We're both in agreement that that's the only way to do it, and then we promptly did not
Yes.
get it taken care of. And then he got busy. I got distracted doing this channel and other things, and and it kind of grown apart a little bit. Obviously, I still want to work with InkSpot, so I'm hoping he still wants to work with me. But again, we knew that it was the right thing to do, is to, we were going to split the IP 50-50, but we didn't get it in writing, and we didn't make that contract happen. So it's like, even when it's the thing to do, you don't always do it. And it's like, we just have to follow through on it.
That's a different thing, though. You guys never got past the concept stage. It's okay to sit there and talk with your friends and buddies or whatever about ideas. I do it all the time with other creators, where we just spitball stupid stuff and we know it's not going to go anywhere. But sometimes things come out of that are going to be a big deal.
Right.
And when you start moving into that, like Hardline is a prime example of this. I'll give you what we did. I'm not going to give you too much inside baseball, but we're coming out with a piece that we all worked on, a collab piece, and I'm trying to work on to get a good contract to where everybody limitedly shares their copyright for it, so that there's no butthurt later. And that's important, because if someone gets mad at someone else and you're using it on your campaign, blah blah blah, we don't want that to happen. And then we can just say, hey, you signed a contract, shut the fuck up.
Right. Yeah.
That's the kind of things that everybody should be doing. Yeah, we all collab together. We all have fun doing this drawing. But if we're going to start monetizing it, it has to be, you have to have everybody on the same page. If someone gets upset, the others can go, you signed the contract, brother, and at least that's a very strong force to go against it. And then it helps everybody else in that case. But that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about when you collab with someone and it starts moving into financial. I think you really need to start moving.
Agreed. That even the thing I did, I didn't think much about it, but the 24-hour event thing with artists, there probably should have been something written where it's like, the artists retain all rights to any. If a character happens to be created in the heat of the moment during that 24-hour thing, the artists retain all of that. It might have been a good idea to just have that, written in stone, because obviously that,
or you do.
I put it
open
in
source. You do it. It's an open source project. No one owns anything.
If
you do it that way, that's probably simpler, because the guy who drew the toad first, does he own that? Or the guy who perfected it? Or do I own the wizard because I made him look more wizardly? It's just, it's in this weird, just open source it. That's a different thing. Just like, this is an open source. No one owns shit on this. It's open source.
Right. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, but it's just like, there's never any intention for that to generate any kind of money or anything. It was just a fun collaboration event, and like, even something that creates some drama and like tension, and like, I'm like, okay, wait, we just have to be really upfront, transparent, and solid about these things.
And I already saw people online talking about we should do, after that event, and that's what prompted this. I saw people, we should do writing and working with artists, and then they can own a piece of this and we own a piece of that. And this is like,
it's like, oh man,
this
is a nightmare. Stop. Yeah.
That causes more problems. Trust me. There's, even in ComicsGate, we've only been around for about 3 years, really. There's so many projects. There's probably at least a dozen I can name off the top of my head where that happened, where people are just like, I want my money. I want my cut. Oh no, fuck you. And then it just
yeah, true. The moment you got a dollar bill involved, it's things get weird, man. Things get real weird.
So that's always been my position. Always assume, always protect yourself. Not everybody's out to fuck you. That's not true, but you should still take precautions. And we're all friends here, and we all talk in back rooms and have fun and everything. We come up with ideas. We're all creative people, mostly. Mm-hmm. And you you don't want to lose friendships over. I've lost friendships over business dealings,
Yeah.
and you don't want to do that. It's not nice. It doesn't feel good when you have to make a really tough decision.
No, and it's, of course, in this age, especially in ComicsGate, it's not just something you're doing that happens on the sideline outside of public view. If it happens in ComicsGate, it's happening for everyone to watch. So
Yeah.
keep that in mind too. Keep it professional. Get those contracts signed.
Right.
You know,
And
it just keep all that shit away from yourself. You know.
like an example, my personal example is I owned a tabletop gaming store and I had a partner in it. He had a minority stake and then he owned a third. And we had everything in the corporate documents and stocks and all that stuff. Unfortunately, we went bankrupt and I went personally bankrupt. And, you know, he got stuck with some of that because I had to file bankruptcy.
Right.
You know, I lost almost everything I own. But there was still some outstanding debt on the corporation that he was part of, and unfortunately, he got stuck with that.
That's
I had to make that, and I had to end a 15-year friendship.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't honestly pay it. You know,
Right.
he wanted me to pay it. I was like, I can't. And,
Yeah.
you know, you make that decision, and that's hard, and we're not friends anymore.
Yeah.
And that sucks. I feel like shit for it. Maybe I'm a shitty person for doing it, but I had no choice. So
Yeah. There are moments where sometimes you got to make that tough call.
yeah, there's 100. You know, I was the one being sued. My name
Right.
was on the lawsuit, so it's like his name wasn't on there because I put my name at the top. I took all the risk.
Yeah.
So just remember that. You know, please, everybody, please just. Contracts are good. But it's a fail safe, and it's at least gets you going. And I see too much in CG really, and I see problems coming on down the line from it. You know, I'm not talking next year, but 5 to 10 years from now, I see big problems.
I think anything at all with money to do with, you should always get a contract. Money brings out the worst and the best in people sometimes, and it's like all you've got to do is see. For example, I don't know if you guys have ever had it. I had a family member pass away, and you should have seen it. Like people we haven't seen for years, people who are for new vultures, just whatever they could get because the will was out of date or it wasn't updated, and they were just like, "Well, don't say it on there. It means we're entitled to this, that." And people are shit when it comes to money.
Yeah.
So you have to protect yourself.
If you literally see family members fighting each other over their dead parents' money,
Yep.
Just imagine what they'd fight over for a comic book IP or something else.
Yep.
It's
Someone you've known
you're
for
absolutely
a
right.
couple of months, they're like, fuck him.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like,
Now, what I guess this could go to both of you, Captain and Passion. But what are your thoughts on like artists signing up to a project and just for ownership in the IP? Do you think that's a viable path for an artist, or do you feel like an artist should always be getting paid for their work and not go into agreements where they're just getting ownership of something?
I'll let Cap. I talked a lot already.
I don't even.
Yes, you have. 34 minutes. Fucking hell. I also have a degree in graphic design. I've got another one in three-dimensional design as well. In both of those degrees, we were taught about contractual law. We would talk about employment law. So I'm with Passion every step of the way. You do any work for anybody, unless you're doing it for free. Don't worry about that. I wouldn't worry about that. But if it's involving money, always have a fucking. It doesn't even matter if it's a contract. Just have an agreement written down, because you need the paper trail. Doesn't matter what happens afterwards, whether it's good or whether it's bad. You always need to keep that paper trail. Period. And if you don't know employment law, if you don't know contractual law, find someone who does, because you only need to figure it out once or twice. Maybe 3 times that a push, depending on how many different varieties of projects you're working on. But then once you've got the standard agreements in place, you just send them off. Easy fucking peasy. It's not hard work. It'll take a couple of weeks to figure out. That's it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
And then you're set. As in terms of working for IP, I probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
I'd rather get paid.
obviously, I think writers are more obviously want that scenario to be a possibility. Just because it can be when you're talking about hiring an artist for a project, it can be $10,000 plus, and a lot more depending. So that's obviously something that writers hope are a possibility. But I'm just wondering, you as an artist, does that ever work out for the artist? Is it something that does work out?
I'll tell you the two things you steer away from if you're an artist, just from an artist perspective: sharing IP as part of the thing. Invest, because you're investing your time. And the other one is when, in this case, IGG, well, you'll get paid when the funds come in. Mm-hmm. No. Like they want you to do all the work, then they're going to pay you when it maybe makes this. No, don't do that. Don't do that at all. Don't even think about doing it. Where you're doing all this work and maybe the IGG makes, $1,000. I'm telling you, you're not getting fucking paid. And then it's up to the writer to do all this work to promote the work, and then they don't, and then they get mad and they get upset. You don't get paid. Yep. Don't do that. Get paid either up front or have some type of payment plan going on. And if you're doing preview pages, make sure you fully get paid for those before the IGG even comes in. I've done that for people. But don't IP sharing too is not payment because you're hopefully going to get paid later. It's like, if you gladly pay me today for a hamburger,
Yeah. It's a roll of the dice, and the dice usually doesn't hit.
Yeah, and that's in CG.
I get that.
I think someone did the thing like 75% or something high number of campaigns don't fund.
They don't fund, and even if they do, they don't fund it at a scale that would actually pay an artist what they're worth.
I think
there's a difference there.
What Patrick's really saying here is fuck NASA.
Well, that goes.
I'm not going to name any names, but
I should have just called this.
NASA.
That should have been the name of the stream, and then we all would have known what the topic was.
There's a lot of people who've done this, and they won't be able to get anybody to work on their books anymore because
that's the thing that I don't understand. It's so short-sighted. If this is something you want to be doing, and
and that's the other thing. Writers and stuff, treat your artists right. Like one person I could say does that is Phil Diaz. The Lost Pages is a monumental task to happen. How that book it's going to be shipping out soon.
Yes,
he has like nearly 30 creators on that book. Okay, madness, and some of them are brand new artists.
Ale to Phil.
Yeah, Phil. Yeah, some are brand new artists.
Yep,
never done anything before. A lot of them are veterans who've done stuff before, and to get everything all situated like that, and I haven't heard one complaint from the artists about how Phil treated them. And guess what? When he does another Lost Pages, they're all going to bend over backwards to do more work for him.
No doubt.
That's really another good argument against IP sharing for artists. Because if an IP blows up and you're the artist on it, there's a very strong likelihood the writer's going to want to continue working with you anyway.
Right.
Because like we've talked about this before, Rock. When it comes to comics, you get sucked in by the art. You stay for the story.
Yes, correct. Right.
And that's why I keep saying artists don't really need writers, but writers need artists because they are the ones who bring the people in, and that's the first to get the foot in the door. The story has to be good. The story keeps them coming back too.
Yeah. There's no doubt. I mean, it's the level of writing, I don't want to be an asshole, but I guess that you kind of have to be sometimes. But I would say that the majority, not just in ComicsGate or indie comics, but in comics in general, there's not that many, very well written comic books. There just aren't that many. There's more garbage than there is good, I would say. And it does, but again, I think a lot of comic book readers are there a lot for the art. It's the art that really, even as a writer, I'm coming to it like I want that badass art, page to page. I'm getting my enjoyment out of a comic book. A lot of it is the artwork. Now, you throw in a good story on top of that, and it's just like, there's nothing else like it. But
See,
a lot of times the story is just, it's okay. It's a vehicle for the art to be there, and that's fine. I'm cool with that.
I'm usually kind of the opposite. Like nowadays, I don't mind the art so much as long as it's not complete trash. But if the story is really good, and usually I have to hear that the story is good, I usually make someone else read it. But if the story is really good and the art's like okay, I'll read it and like, holy shit, this is good.
I get that too. Yeah.
I mean, there's tons of like me personally, Frank Miller's later on stuff I'm not particularly like. His stuff like in Sin City, I thought that artwork was it was lazy, but boy, that story is fucking good. You know what I mean? Like it's really, really good. And I think that's what people don't talk about the art so much in Sin City. They talk about the stories. Yeah. And that can come out too. And artists are that. And like a lot of the 90s stuff, we all like, 90s was great, Image, blah, blah, blah. 99% of those stories were trash.
Right.
They were shit.
Yeah.
They were crap. No one could tell me, like I try to ask people, like all these big storylines that were in Image Comics, no one can recite them because they were fucking shit.
Right.
They weren't really that good.
There was just, because they were becoming rock stars and there was so much money, there was this tremendous energy around it. And that's what people are remembering, is that the energy was just everywhere at that time. But in terms of the quality of the storytelling, they were just cranking these books out because so much money was to be made.
And it was
every
off
time
the
they
art.
did.
It was off the art, you know. The artist broke off of Marvel. You didn't see any fucking writers do it. It was artists who did that movement. So you don't see a bunch of writers have tried to do their own comic things, and they've all failed every time. Like Stan Lee did 3 or 4 different kind of comic book things. Yeah, they all died.
Right.
He couldn't get them because he couldn't get artists to do it.
Unhinged Entertainment says, when you're a writer and an artist, you need no one. Maybe backers. Yeah, it's true. That's gotta. What a luxury that would be. So cool to be able to just have it all be on your own shoulders and not have to that would be a really cool thing. But maybe not. I don't know.
Time.
Yeah, it's time. Yeah, I mean, right. Doom Fate's taken me longer because I decided to do everything I'll be straight with everybody. The writing was easiest. But the drawing and the inking took me about 2.5 months, but the coloring has taken me almost 4. So right. There's a problem in my thing. It probably would have been a good idea to hire that out to somebody, but I'd be done by now. But
you figured that out. You got it figured out.
Yeah, I got to figure it out now, but I would have been done almost on time. So it's my fault.
Yeah,
I take responsibility.
What were you saying, Cap, about the the artist getting a little piece of the IP in terms of like staying on the project? What point were you making there?
Well, look, if you I'll say it again, I never would advocate for IP splitting because it's not payment like Passion. It's just not payment. And you're banking on an IP blowing up, you're better off taking the money. But if an IP does blow up, like I said, like we all know, you go into comics for the art, you stay for the story. If an IP blows up, okay, the writer might still own the IP, but there's a strong likelihood that he's going to want to work, or she's going to work. They, him, they, she. I don't know. Right. Let's just call them Mexicans.
They, them. I think
they're going
to
want to. I'm sticking with they, them Mexicans. The likelihood is they're going to want to stick with the artists that got them there in the first place.
More than likely, yeah. But I mean, imagine if you were an artist that owned a piece of that, they would be even more likely to stick with you because if you're not working on it, they're going to have to pay you out a little, aren't they?
But you can put that into a contract. If you can say to people, if your IP blows up, you want to do a second book, then I want to work with you again. There's ways of manipulating that. You don't need to accept IP. IP isn't payment. Cash is payment. Money is payment.
From the writer's point of view, I suppose the thing is if you've written the IP, like you've written the story, why would you want to give a part of it away?
Because you don't have the money to pay the artist.
You don't have
because it's going to cost you $15,000 to $20,000 to pay an artist to do the book. So
it depends on who you're hiring, but
it depends.
There is a lot of artists. There's a lot of artists too, though, that get preyed upon by these writers. I'm not saying all of them, but they go after the cheap low end stuff. Like, I'm not cheap, but I'm not high end either. I know a lot of guys that charge more than me. But if you're just someone just trying to break out and you're desperate to just get your art onto a comic book page, and maybe it's not the best, you're setting yourself up to be exploited. If an artist really comes, or a writer comes to you, a creator, whatever, and wants you to do something for them, they obviously want you to do it. They see something in your work that they want to work with. And I'm not saying take them, this gets into negotiations, but don't take them to the tool shed on the price. You pay what you think is worth. And that's another thing a lot of artists do. They don't charge what they're really worth. They always undercut themselves. And you have to be your best advocate. I've turned down a lot of work, and some of it was that they didn't want to pay my price. And some people offer me obscenely low page rates. It's like, I can't. That's not worth the time.
No, right. Of course not. But it's like, if artists really, it's when you're talking about comic book production, especially, if you're doing it a full length, like let's say it's 60 plus, 80 plus, even 100 plus pages of artwork, it almost it's like, what would that cost if an artist was actually getting what they're worth? What's that going to cost? It's insane. So I think I think artists do wind up compromising a bit, and maybe they shouldn't. But the expense in producing that size book is insane.
And writers do that too, because they want to see their vision created.
Yes.
And they want it on paper too. And they're willing to not go the lowest common denominator on artists to get their work done. And then they pay, people they get the lowest tier artists just because they want it in print. And then people see the art, and then their project doesn't get backed, and then they get upset.
Yep.
And then they blame everybody else but themselves.
Yes.
That's another factor too that a lot of people have to come to grips with. That, like, I hate. I'm gonna be a dick. Everybody's gonna hate me. Maybe your idea isn't that good.
Well,
maybe
let's just
you
assume,
didn't hire the right artist.
It's
always
never
the
that
option,
good.
mate.
The idea are shit. It's execution. Execution is everything. I don't give a fuck about the ideas. Quite honestly,
Well,
every once in a while, there's an idea so pure and so like, wow, how has nobody thought of it? They're great, right? 30 days a night kind of ideas. But it's like, for the most part, an idea is meaningless without masterful execution. That's it.
But an artist can take a bad idea and make it better.
They can make it beautiful, no doubt about it. Yeah.
Thing is, you will find for every 100 ideas you come up with, you might have one good one. The rest are going to be absolute shite. So if you don't pick the right one, like you said, you're going to end up with potentially a terrible idea. You pick a terrible artist.
A talented team can make almost anything engaging, entertaining, and enjoyable to read as a comic book. I mean, literally anything.
Stuff?
Literally
I think that's an ego thing. I think that's an ego thing. Really boils down to. Even I'm like that with Doom Fate. I'm like, hey, this is a great idea. I think it's amazing. Obviously, it's not that amazing. I only made 11,500. It's not that amazing because the market has said, hey, this is as good as an idea as it's going to get. But it's a launching off point. That's when I'm looking at it. I'm taking the loss now.
Yeah,
you can do that for myself.
You know how this works. You know how this game works.
I can do that for myself. Right. I'm doing that for myself. My other projects coming on down the line are going to build off of this one, and hopefully they snowball. It could fail, man. I don't know. This is the risks you take in business.
Of course.
And that's the other thing. A lot of artists and writers and stuff know nothing about business. They don't understand the investment, time, money, all these things.
Yeah.
And there's some people doing it right now. I see them doing it. But there's a lot that aren't.
I mean, if we're gonna talk about all this, I think we kind of have to talk about, the whole concept of crowdfunding is.
Yeah.
The idea behind it is that these strangers, these individuals out in the world, you've pitched them something and you've revealed your passion for bringing this something to life. And the idea is that all these people are going to invest into it to help make it possible to make it happen. And in that context, I mean, it kind of is. I mean, how many people have the money to pay an artist up front to do a project like this? If you're not, you know what I'm saying? Like the crowdfunding aspect makes it like, we could bring this to life if we get the funding, but of course that means nobody gets paid until the end.
Right.
And you're saying like never do that. So then it's like you see what I'm saying. There seems to be a little conflict there.
Well, it's
And I'm
not
just being
conflict.
devil's advocate a little. I'm
Yeah,
just
I know,
bringing it up. Okay.
I don't see the conflict there because if you go to hire someone for a job, let's say stacking boxes, you got to go out and hire someone, and you got to field out all the applicants. Like, well, have you stacked boxes before? Yes, I have. Well, do you have references? Yes, I have. And then you hire that person. You pay him a bunch of money to stack boxes, and then he doesn't stack boxes.
Right.
So you're already out all the time you did to hire this person. You're already paying him a paycheck, and he's just sitting on his ass not doing anything. So there's a risk in business. This is part of it. Like, oh, I got to fire this fucking guy and get another guy to stack boxes. Hopefully that guy's better.
Yeah,
There's a risk in business no matter what you do, and if you're not willing to take the risk and willing to lose the money. It's going to happen in business. I lost my life savings in a business. Okay. You take that chance. Hopefully that's, again, like you said, rolling the dice.
Yeah.
See, that's what you're talking about there. That's the entrepreneurial mindset.
Right.
Sure.
No.
And Julius,
A lot of
how you
people
doing,
don't have
man?
it.
Yeah. Jules.
How you doing, buddy?
Hey guys, how you doing? How you guys
Hey,
doing?
good.
Can you guys hear me?
Good.
Yep.
Can hear you.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Did you have?
Go on, keep going. I'll chime
Okay.
in. When,
Okay. I didn't
Yeah.
know if you had something specific you wanted to drop, or we'll just keep on going.
Is it a member zone?
I just
Is that
wanted to kind of give my 2 cents because I've been trying to break in as a writer for like 10 years, and
Yeah.
I've experienced the very things that you guys are talking about: contracts,
Yep.
agreements, sharing IP rights, and all of it was something that I've done as well, like to negotiate prices, because I don't make as much money on my day job, so I have to scrap every nickel and dime that I can to build my budget for my comic book projects, and I always tend to cut the deal, I guess, to get a good page rates lowered as much as possible. But I've stopped doing that recently because I thought I'm starting to see that most artists don't want to do that anymore, because obviously they need to get paid because they also have bills to pay and whatnot. So
Right.
crowdfunding, I think, well, not crowdfunding. Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is it's best for an indie comic writer anyway, to save your budget, build it as high as you can, and then break down price ranges. Okay, like for instance, okay, I can only pay an artist this much per page, and then you try to find an artist that has that kind of price range, and then finish the book, and then do the crowdfunding, so that way you could get the writer anyway on the writing side can get that money back, and you already paid the artist their fee for their work.
Yeah, I think it's a valid point. If you have this thing that you want to breathe life into, and if you don't have enough belief in it to maybe, to save up the money and piece it out and come to like, this is how much it's going to cost me realistically to pay an artist, then maybe you need to rethink doing it. And I'm speaking to myself here too. It's like, you really, if you have to pay that as a writer, and maybe this is worth its weight in gold in and of itself, is if you have to put that money out to an artist, you're really going to make sure that is the best work that you can put forth, and it's going to be an idea that you truly believe in. So maybe there's value in that for writers. Like, if you're not willing to put up that cash, maybe you really don't believe in that thing as much as you think you do.
And be willing that it flops and that you're going to lose your money. You got to be willing to accept that you're going to lose it, that your idea it may not catch on. And that, like, I've seen tons of books that look amazing, great ideas. They didn't get funded, or they barely got funded. Like I've seen tons of awesome ideas. I'm like, damn, I wish I would have thought it. That's a great idea. That's a good idea. Awesome art, all that stuff. And they didn't get funded.
Yeah.
So,
it happens. It happens quite often.
Yeah.
So good story, good art
that's
isn't
true,
necessarily success either.
Well, we're dealing
absolutely.
with an abstract.
Lack
Go
of
ahead,
promotion.
Dave.
Yeah, it's all lack of promotion. You see, like I've seen a lot of these books that didn't get the funding. It's because you've never heard of the person putting the campaign forward, the writer or the artist, whoever's doing it. You don't hear about them. You don't see them on streams. You don't see them barely on Twitter. They barely promote themselves.
That was the mistake I made back in February when I first launched it. That's exactly what I did, and I learned from my mistakes.
What was your?
And now I'm here. Now I'm here on your stream. You know, to put my 2 cents and also to promote my campaign if possible. If you guys allow me.
What is your project, Julius?
It's the Ghetto Dragon Book 1 that's live on Indiegogo at the moment. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Promotion, marketing is key. When I launched it back in February, I launched it cold. You know, I didn't build up my fan base. I wasn't too active on Twitter. I didn't have a YouTube channel. And so when I launched it, I actually emailed Richard Meyer for advice. And he was nice enough to email me back and pretty much told me, yeah, you kind of messed up, man. You should have had all that stuff ready. So that way, when you launched it, you could have at least had something to work with. But you're going to have to work 10 times harder now to promote this Indiegogo, because just because you launched it doesn't mean it's an automatic, funding.
Oh, absolutely,
you have to really work for it.
That's part of your entrepreneurial mindset there. So you made a mistake, but you've learned
definitely not
from
me
it.
then.
And no, not you, Cap. You've learned from it, and you know what you're doing moving forward. So that's the difference. That's why your next campaign is going to be a lot more successful.
Let me give you my example how I did things. Like, I came into ComicsGate, no one knew who I was. I started getting on streams. I started doing stuff. I didn't do any projects for 6 months. Yeah. I just went on streams and was like a stupid asshole for fucking 6 months.
So nothing's changed. Wow.
Nothing has changed. But you know what my first project was a coloring book. That was my first project for CG, and I promoted it as much as I could. What little audience I had at the time, I got it out there. And guess what? It was really popular. I was stunned, actually. I only expected to make a few grand off of it. I didn't expect to make $8,000. So it got pretty popular, and it did pretty well. So I was like, okay, I'll do pretty well. And everybody's like, do a comic book. So I did a comic book. I'd never done one before. And I didn't realize how much labor actually goes in that versus a coloring book. Ooh. And it did worse when it closed. I actually got less money then. I'm like, well, then I should have fucking kept doing coloring books. So you start thinking, like, did I make the right business move here? But luckily, I got back out there on the circuit, annoyed everybody as much as I can to buy a book. And everybody knows who I am. And that's what's important, is getting out there and do the marketing. And you really only have yourself. When it comes to that, you really only have yourself. I haven't been able to get on a lot of streams because I've been working. It's hard.
Well, I do want to inject this again, just kind of a little bit of devil's advocate, but also just from what I'm starting to experience is, like, we know that artists put in the lion's share when it comes to just the raw hours, the amount of time it takes for the artist to produce the pages. Compared to a writer, typically way out of balance, right? The artist is putting in a lot more hours. But the way the writer can make up for that is building those platforms, doing the live stream thing, really making up the hours by being out here and putting the project in a position to succeed with promotion. So I do think that relationship can balance out a little bit with this formula with YouTube and social marketing. It's a way to balance it out a little bit, because the artist is just going to be chained to that drawing table, dude. There's no way around that.
It's interesting you talk about the time. I mean, Passion said he was in CG for 6 months, did fuck all. I've been kicking around in CG for probably 18 months now, and I've really not done anything. All I'm trying to show people is, I want to make comic books. I want to be doing that as something like an illustration, something I've always loved doing. But I need to be good to be able to do that. So what I'm trying to show, hopefully, I'm trying to show people is that I am getting better and better and better at what I'm trying to learn to do. And that's not just illustration, that's coloring as well. I just printed off my 2 Cyberfrog pieces because I wanted to see what they look like on paper. Fuck, they look good. And that's not me.
It's so good.
And I could say that too about Captain. I've seen your stuff too, and it's getting better and better and better. You're building up something and showing people what you can do. I started doing fan art. I did stuff for War Campaign and Cecil and some other projects too. I just did fan art, and people were like, holy fuck, that's good. And it got attention. If it's simply doing fan art every once in a while, it will get people's attention.
That's next. Sure, you're getting really good.
Sorry, Sim.
So it's true. You're getting really good, dude. I just had to
Yeah.
come in and
Trying.
say it.
Yeah, what's up, Sim?
What's
No,
up?
no, it's my next sort of foray, but it's going to go down the ballerina Superman, Captain America kind of track.
Yeah.
So it might be fan art. It might piss some people off. But I don't
Is that the
fucking
one
care.
you told me
It's
last
gonna be
time?
fun. Sorry.
Is that the one you told me we were going to do last time?
Yeah, I've got a few in mind, and I've got a few targets in mind to do it. I want to see how much I can piss Peter Gilmore off.
I guess it's a lot.
It don't take a lot to piss him off.
Yeah, shouldn't be hard to do.
I mean, one thing I want to say before, I think we're probably going to be winding down here in a little bit, but I just want to get out there, like, obviously, if you take nothing else from this talk today, get those contracts signed, work up a contract, writers and artists, whatever. If you're working on a project with other people, get it in writing, get the agreement down, so then you can go about your business and remain friends. But also, there's no one way to do it. You can come up with creative negotiations between whatever works for you as a team, as a group. If it works for you and you all think that it's a positive for each one of you are getting what you need out of it, then do it. It doesn't have to be one way or the highway. Figure out something that works for you and your team. And I think but get it in writing. That's it.
And I think it's important that you make the difference. Like people understand that a contract is an agreement, right? So you don't have to have like a contract written by a lawyer. You just write down an agreement that everybody agrees to it, and that's technically a basic contract of it. You can, and it's a lot cheaper to have a mediator sign it to just confirm it than having a lawyer. A mediator is way cheaper.
What Rot should have said is hashtag always wear a contract or you'll be getting fucked twice.
That's right. Absolutely.
It happens.
And, and contracts are not anything personal either. Like, they're not a personal attack, or they're not like a mistrust, issue where like, oh, I don't trust you, so you need to sign it. It's a
really.
A form to
I'm glad you.
to protect each other. Yeah, to protect
Everyone
each other legally.
Yep.
And we can, and like you said, go on with our business and get the project done.
Dude, that's so important. I'm glad you brought that up, man, because it isn't. Don't take it personal at all.
That's unless her daddy told you she needs a prenup.
Yeah, because if you don't have something that secures everybody, there's always the chance that one feels that they're being, not being fair to, and that builds, animosity between people.
Exactly.
And you might as well just
if you
be
value
safe and
your
have
friendships. If you're going to work with people that you've come to call friend, if you value that, you want the contracts there. It's not about not being. It will protect the friendship. It's a good thing for everyone. I guess I'll let George in here. I don't know.
Oh, here we go. Another fucking hour.
I thought you were wrapping it up.
What's up, George?
We are. We got to wrap. George, you're always dropping in at the end these days. What do you got for us, man?
Yeah. Give me a sec. Let me just focus my my camera because I'm going to focus with the words I'm going to say. There you go. My words are going to be sharp. Yes, they are. There we go.
All right. they always are.
Okay. These guys are a bunch of fucking assholes. I can't believe
there we
what
go.
you're saying. It's like, if your audience is less than on the next campaign from the previous campaign, you gotta figure out why that's the problem. Secondly, contracts in the comic book world are never honored, ever, in the professionals and also in the amateurs and also in the beginners. Everyone has a big fucking mouth and they talk a lot. They don't keep their mouth shut, and they don't get into the business of doing the work. Everyone has an ego, and they want to stroke it. They want to tell, hey, look at what I'm doing. Look at what I'm writing. Look at what I'm drawing. Hey, wait a minute. I wrote 10,000 words yesterday. Did any of those make sense? Did those 10,000 words have a coherent story? Probably not. Because it's not the amount of words that you write, it's what you write and how your life experience is injected into your story. And that's just a story. Let me talk about art. Does
George,
your art have structure? Wait a minute.
I gotta wind this down, man.
No, let me finish. Does your art have structure? Do you have consistency? Can you actually compose your layouts on a scene? Can you actually suspend disbelief and say, yeah, that character looks like they're in that scene. That character looks like they're picking up that cup of tea and they're drinking it. Come on, guys. Jeez. I've been listening to this whole thing, and it's like, stop stroking each other and stop being more critical to each other. If, and here's the big problem. Here's the big problem with ComicsGate, and especially if everyone was critical about the work of your fellow artist, your fellow creator. If you, because I keep hearing this bullshit. Oh, I'm not going to critique this book because I don't want them to lose their customer base. That's total bullshit.
Right.
All right.
No, this is.
If everyone's critical of each other, if everyone critiqued each other, if they did a critique stream on the fellow artists, you know what? Not only will that help, but also improve.
George, I think
I don't know.
You should be calling for criticism.
George, do you want to sit down and have a chat after this?
This sounds. Right. I think this would be a very.
Don't sit down, George, because that stick up your ass will go further up.
This would be. It would be an interesting show to just talk about this topic that George just brought up, because it is a thing I think people struggle with within ComicsGate and the indie comic scene in general, is like not necessarily wanting to give sincere, authentic critiques of each other's work. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's true.
If you want to get your audience, you know what Ethan does really well to get his audience. Let's just put aside his history, okay? His resume. You know what he does well? He entertains people.
He does.
Okay, the trash compactor guys, the Etsy boys, whatever you want to call them. They had what's that guy? Drake. Oh my God, I know the guy.
Alasmat,
right? Road Warrior Drake. They entertained the audience, and they were able to sell the books on him. And they had what? Like maybe 200 subscribers, and they had 40, maybe 40 at a time. Watching the show. But you want to go on a stream, make entertainment, entertain your audience. Hopefully, you can make them laugh instead of being constantly angry.
Right.
There's good.
That's great.
Are you?
Yeah.
And don't go on a stream because it's going to make you. Because
I don't see how this.
Go on a stream and actually entertain your audience. Entertain the audience who on the stream that you're on.
All right, George.
You're entertaining.
Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, right now you're telling everybody what to do.
Yeah, man.
Like there's one way of doing things, dude.
I've been listening to all this. I'm having this brain aneurysm. If I wasn't gonna come here and vent, I would explode.
Well, I'm glad we could provide the opportunity to avoid your brain hemorrhage, dude. I'm glad.
All right, now I stand ready. Go on.
All right, George. Okay. I just want to say this. I'll be nice about it. There are other ways of going about what you're talking about. We've had these discussions in private, George. We have. And there are other ways. You and I disagree on some of them. And it is working. Other ways are working out. Rage marketing can only get you so far depending on who you are. And there are other avenues. It's a tougher route. No one's denying that. Okay, it's not easy. Most of us, no one knows who the fuck we are. Okay, all these people on this panel, you ask anybody in comic books, they'd be like, "Who the fuck are these people?" They don't know.
Hey, speak for yourself, man. Everyone knows Bristolian Dave, right?
Most of CG doesn't know who the fuck we are.
Right. So, yeah. Correct.
I don't even know who the fuck I am.
All right.
Right.
So it's all of us if we get together and do this and be entertaining. You're right. And market and do all these things, it can be successful. The Hardline's proving that. CG UK is proving that. Mandy's proving that. Other people are forming the groups and trying to do something different. They each have their own views of it, of course.
Including
but
me.
It can be done. You don't have to go out and fucking make quote unquote entertaining streams that cause a bunch of shit. You don't have to do it. You don't.
Right.
Yeah, not everyone can be Howard Stern, I guess.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are you going to make 6 figures on your book? Probably not. I mean, be realistic here. Are you going to make 5 figures on your book? Maybe not. The numbers are not in your favor. Okay.
Well, hold on a sec. Yeah, I know we disagree on a lot of things. And one thing I disagree right now is like, why diminish your potential? You can make 7 figures.
Hey.
You know, Donald Trump says, I'll quote Donald Trump as a sales guy. You know, there's that Buick that you want to sell. Okay, you can just sell it as is, and you'll get, maybe $1,000. But if you put a little work on it and put it through a car wash, you'll probably end up selling it for $1,500 or $2,000.
Yeah, he's gonna lose an election. So they're really
he just lost to a guy who shits himself. So I don't know what kind of advice I'm gonna take.
All right, let's wrap this up.
Yeah, we got to wrap this up. Captain Puckhead, you have anything you want to shout out today? What's going on today?
As per normal, go and have a look at my. I'll drop the link in a second once I've said it. Me little gay art channel. There is a plan for doing promo work for CG in there long term, but I need to build that up first. So come and help me build it. Plus, you'll get a more of a close up look at how I'm developing, how I'm trying to move forward, both illustrating, painting, and coloring. And smashing them all together. But I do want everyone to go and have a look, and I'll drop the link in the chat for that in a second too. My boy Wally's, I think he's probably a bit hungover from yesterday too. His campaign, Werewolves, Ailsa Dark, Werewolves and Bampots, the conclusion. If you go, you can get all the books from there. So
nice.
There'll be 4 books. And it's well over 100 pages worth of content by a fantastic artist. His art is really strong. Especially when you see it consecutively.
Yeah,
like he's a guy that knows what the fuck he's doing, and he does it real well. And his writing's great.
Nice.
So I'll drop those 2 links.
Yeah, cool. Drop those links, man. And I want to give a big thank you to Passion4Drawing. This topic was your idea, and you were
now I got entire CG hating me. So thank you very much.
Hey man, we might as well make it complete, right? I
mean, it was a great topic.
Now?
I think it needs to be told. It needs to be shared.
Yeah. Like anybody who wants to DM me or anything about this stuff, or you need forms or ideas where to go, my DMs are open, and if you're not sure. Please contact me, and I can point you to some of the references that I use personally.
Nice.
That's
cool. And I've got some links for Passion4Drawing down below. But is there anything specific you'd like to shout out, Passion?
Yeah, Doom Fate's going to be going to print here in a couple of weeks. I'm literally working on the last 5 pages now, so be prepared for that. And we're going to be doing Grave Robbers is my next project. I'm just drawing and inking that one, and that's by Mark Middleton. He's a really good guy. You've probably seen him around. And it's going to be really cool. It's Western and horror kind of mashed together, and it's probably some of Doom Fate's good, but this is some of my best work. I think it's going to be spectacular. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it, and please back that book on the 20th. That launches, so please look for it, and please back that book because I think he's like at 200 signups right now, so that's really good because he's been doing the work. So.
Yeah, and I do have the link to that sign up in the description below. If you want to drop any links, Passion, you are welcome to do so.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And before I finish out with everybody else, I do want to say we'll be on with White Cat Comics tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern. We're going to have Carla, John, and Vinny on, and maybe some other special guests. But Witch Hunter is a great project. It's coming out of the gate pretty strong with the campaign. So come hang out with us tomorrow for that show. Should be a good time. Sim, anything you'd like to shout out?
Before you go to Sim, can you just take that back down a second? I need to ask Jay something.
Go.
What's going on with J Doll Signs? How?
$8.
Hey, Jay Manny. Sorry, man. I forgot to say hello.
He can't hear you. He's just
I
taking
don't even know. What does it fucking say?
Now it's working. We can hear you.
J Doll Signs. How?
J Dollar Sign Show. Wait, what? Yeah, you're right. What is this shit?
Look, I'm a dick lipstick, but that's ridiculous.
Bring it up. I can't see it. I got
You're missing an R after that, dude.
It says
J
$. Oh,
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got some slang in there. That's all. That's all. Sim, what do you got? What do you got for us, man?
Well, we got the hard line on every Monday, every Monday at 10 p.m. Right?
Nice.
There's Doodle and Chill on Sunday 7 p.m. We have the Pimp Your Project tonight at 11:15 with Edwin Diaz and Doc Hogg's gonna drop by.
Nice.
Go check out my my buddy Beacon's 7 Legions, because it's a really great book. And
Yes.
go check out Tales from an Adverse. The colors are starting to come in. We're a bit behind on the colors, but they're looking awesome. So go grab a copy.
Nice. All right.
Oh,
Julius Freeman.
one more thing.
Oh,
Because,
yeah.
because he's not here. Runes of Ragnon. Go get it on Amazon.
Yeah. What about Gargoyle's not?
I know
here.
Gargoyle's not here. I'm like, I have to pick up. Yeah.
Nice, dude. Julius Freeman, tell us about your project, man.
Well, yeah, just right now, Ghetto Dragon is live on Indiegogo, and if you guys like old Hong Kong action movies and Bruce Lee movies and gritty hood stories, you're gonna love Ghetto Dragon, and it's complete. You know, you guys were talking about artwork, so the artwork is complete. It's done.
Nice.
So there's no need to wait, a year for your book. You'll get it hopefully by March of next year, which is a couple of months away. So it's a flexible goal. There's not, I just need a $500 flexible goal and above. And if we reach that stretch goal of 5,000, I could be able to extra goodies for all the backers who contribute to the campaign, and also
Nice.
for the people who get the perks. So hopefully you guys can help make that happen. And
Okay.
also have a YouTube channel. Every Wednesday, we'll do a live stream with a guest. This coming Wednesday, I'm going to have Matt C on there. We're going to talk philosophy and comics,
Cool.
and the how the two go together, even though a lot of people don't realize it. So we're going to have a discussion about that. And yeah, that's it, man. So and thank you again for the link, for posting
Yeah,
the link on your chat
absolutely,
to
man.
have me jump on here. It was a great topic. And George, you're right. There should be some entertainment. There's got to be a balance.
Always,
so
always.
A nice little balance of the two, because
I have a question, Julius.
Yep.
Your Hong Kong book, does the dialogue match the visuals?
Say that again?
delayed. No, it's delayed, like in the movies.
Yeah.
There you go.
I could have done that. That would have been great.
So
Well done. Well done.
I should have blank bubbles, and then later on have the dialogue in the next
You
panel.
have to write in.
Make the dialogue one panel over.
Yeah.
So, Julius Freeman, is that how people are going to find you on Twitter, on YouTube? Is that the best way to find you?
Yeah.
Just type that in. Okay.
You can find me at @A_lucid_comic. That's where you can find me on Twitter, and you can follow me there. And that's where I'm mostly active and promoting and interacting with all the followers and people on the CG, everywhere and anywhere really. Because I'm kind of like Switzerland. I'm neutral on a lot of the things. So I just want
Right.
to sell comics.
Yeah.
And do what I can to get people to know about the Ghetto Dragon and get that stuff out there, so that way I can make more of it down the line.
Nice, man. Well, thanks for being here on the show today, and people check out Ghetto Dragon on Indiegogo. Bristolian Dave, what you got?
Always follow me on Twitter, Bristolian D. YouTube channel is just launched, so go give it a sub. The
Nice.
link is in the chat. So basically, it's just going to be me talking about all the shit I like. Comics, movies, TV, basically anything and everything. So go give it a sub, and you can listen to more of this sweet Bristolian accent in your eardrums.
Nice.
Nice, dude. Nice. George, what you got?
I want everybody to unsubscribe from me as much as possible, and do not go to
Done and done.
GeorgePeterGatzis.com. That's it.
All right, man. GeorgePeterGatzis.com.
Yeah,
for
don't
all,
go to that. Do not
don't
go
do
to
it.
that.
Do not do it.
Move along. Nothing
Obviously.
to see. Yeah.
If you need reasons why not to do that, just rewind this stream and watch. And
You do know that the psychiatrists, the Royal Society of Psychiatrists in UK, have reversed their understanding of reverse psychology.
of course they have.
Okay, that's really, really good.
Yeah.
I can see Jay now. He's Googling it.
Jay, what you got?
What's up, man?
Yeah, wow. Here you are. I mean, you're on the show. You caught the tail end. You got something to say? What do you got?
I just wanted to say hello, everyone. And it's the J $ show, but I guess autocorrect don't like it on my phone. And that's all, sirs. Hi.
All right. Cool, man. Thanks for popping in.
Welcome to the show, dude.
Was that entertaining?
Oh, dude.
That was entertaining. I was entertained.
Superfluous. It was amazing.
Especially that panoramic view when you were driving earlier. That was nice.
Very, very good. All right,
Hey,
guys.
so I finished the intro for my show. Do y'all want me to tell y'all who did the beat?
Go
Who
ahead.
did the beat?
Who did the
Yeah,
beat?
who did
for
the
it.
beat?
6 a.m.
No, yes.
Yeah, go.
Yeah, go for it.
No, Dan Fraga.
Oh,
Oh, shit.
badass, dude. Nice.
Oh,
Very
nice.
Good.
All right. Is
Joe,
this
hear me?
intro up at your channel now, or have you not launched it yet?
I think there's a delay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not. It's not finished. I have to finish.
Kung Fu Comic.
Yeah, there is a delay. I have to finish my one slide. I have to finish one slide.
Okay. Cool. All right, man. We'll keep an eye out.
I have to finish my internet installation.
Well, thanks to the panel, especially my co-host Captain Fuckhead and my special guest Passion4Drawing. Thanks for being here, guys, and to the chat as always. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you tomorrow for Witch Hunter and White Cat Comics. Check that out tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern, and of course another Midday Repartee on Monday.